Enjoying all that Toxic Radio has to offer? Well, make sure you like and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Be the first to find out about ticket giveaways, amazing guests, awesome contests, and Toxic Radio events. Just search Toxic Radio Live, all one word, and press that little button. Every time you do, someone here at Toxic Radio will get their wings.
Yay!
Well, not really.
Aww.
But we will get a warm, fuzzy feeling in our tummies. But then again, that just might be the beer. Anyway, like and follow us, and we will see you out there on the interwebs.
Once every generation, there comes an event that alters how we perceive our world. That changes our expectations of what is possible. This is not really one of those events. But hey, Toxic Radio has a brand new studio, and that fucking rocks. So join us in celebrating our excellent new home. Toxic Radio. Awesomer than ever before. What? That is so a word. Hey guys, dating life going pretty shitty?
I find you so creepy, I think you should have to walk around with a bell around your neck.
Finding yourself getting a little desperate for some female companionship?
Alexa, tell me you love me.
Hell no. You disgust me.
What you need is to upgrade your style right now. The Toxic Store's got exactly what you need. Pick up some stylish gear featuring Deviant Gamer, Toxic Radio, and the Heavy Metal Happy Hour.
Oh, yeah!
You can find the store through the Toxic Radio app or toxicradio.net. Get in the game.
Do I make you horny, baby?
Get yourself a little love.
That guy's getting boobies. Yeah, he is.
Toxic Radio and the Toxic Store. Don't buy it safe. Buy it toxic.
What's up, everyone? It's that time of the week to take it deep, your favorite time of the week, and that means you're back because you liked it, or someone's forced you to listen, or something like that. I don't know. But welcome back. You shut up. Anyway, I am here, and we got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about vaccines today. We're going to talk about wrestling. We're going to be talking about stuff in the butt. No, we're not going to be talking about the butt. Mike got excited. He jumped up out of his chair. He had an explosion. So, that being said, I was thinking this week, right? Like, a lot of things are changing. People are getting vaccinated. I got my first shot today, believe it or not. I'm not going to show you my card like everybody else. I'm going to throw it over here like this because, everybody wants to show off their card. No, I don't believe you can get hacked by doing it because that's another boomer-esque conspiracy. But, I'm hearing people like, oh, I got to go back to work. I don't want to go back to work, and then I hear people like, oh, you need to get ready back and go back to work because it's the reality. I want to ask a few questions. Are people using it as an excuse? Are we ready for it? Maybe they are using it as an excuse. Maybe they aren't. I mean, I see something going on in the NFL right now with the Seahawks, and I think the Bills. Could be wrong. I'm going to look that up. But a bunch of players opted out of their in-person voluntary workouts. The Browns and the Giants players. I believe the Detroit Lions also opted out. Broncos veteran players opted out. Now, why am I bringing this up? Not really more of a sports-related thing. I think they're full of shit. And the reason why I say they're full of shit, and I just don't think they want to do the OTAs, which is not common, especially for veteran players in the NFL. And for my non-football fans out there that don't know, stick with me here because we're not going deep into sports, but don't know what that is. It's basically like, voluntary workouts. Like you don't have to go, some do, but it benefits you, especially if you're a younger player. Now, with that being said, a lot of these players just played a full season of football during the height of the pandemic. So what's the problem now? I haven't read into it. a lot because I think it's BS on certain players' parts. Because, for example, if you were that worried, a lot of players had the ability to opt out, which some players actually did. They didn't feel like it was worth it. And kudos to them. They were making their choice. But I feel like people are half-stepping it. And football players are very well paid for the most part, the ones that, even are not even stars. So, is boomerism a word? It should be. I think it should. What do you think, Mike? You think boomerism should be a word?
It should absolutely be a word.
Yeah.
If it isn't, then you just started something new and make us go viral. Everybody do that.
Yeah. Or, I don't know. Did I say that? Or did Alex say that? I don't know. Maybe Alex did. But all I know is the thing about that is a lot of people are getting more comfortable working at home. The other flip side of that coin is, well, maybe employers' jobs were shitty to begin with, and people don't want to go back because the jobs suck. Now, let me give you a little dynamic that makes people have to go back to work. The jobs they might not want to, or maybe they want to start their own business or go to a different job, is healthcare, because it's tied in the United States to your job 99% of the time. So, with that being said, certain people are saying to themselves, wow, I don't need as much money. I don't need as much shit that we buy. I don't need a bunch of stuff. You know what's more important to me is time. Time with my family. Time for myself. Time with my dog. Time in general, right? Because a job is supposed to be a fair exchange of time for monetary value so you can live. Now, some people live to work, and I'm personally a person that likes to work to live, unless you're one of those fortunate ones that get to do what you love for a living. Now, I hear a lot of these older dolts out there going, oh, I said dolts, that's right, D-O-L-T-S. Okay, not adults, dolt. Out there saying, like, oh, you got to get back to work, you lazy bastard. Shut up. Here's the thing about that. I don't mind if people don't want to go back to work, because you know what that does? That affords opportunity for people that do want to go back to work, because there will be people that do. I'm working a job now where I'm home, and that's great. And I'd rather kind of be a little bit of in the office or all in the office. I like being around people. I like getting out of the house, breaking up the routine. What I've noticed in being home in the last 2 weeks working is that you do get in a routine, but it almost becomes mundane. You have to purposely break it up. All right? It becomes predictable. So, that's good for some people. It's bad for some people. But employers maybe have to start living high off the hog. And I'm not talking about small business owners here, but, there are some, and maybe people don't want to work for small wages. Like, I hear a lot of kitchens are having trouble staffing. Oh, I'm paying a lot. I have to pay this now. I hear the phrase, I have to pay this because no one wants to work for me. Hello, is anybody home? Take a fucking clue. That's why they didn't want to come back in the first place, because you weren't paying dick before the pandemic. Duh. So, listen, it's getting to that point where I know people that have left jobs that were very lucrative, and they were successful at it, and decided to start a business, do a business with their wife, do a business with somebody else in their family by themselves, or pursue a different career or angle because of how much time pre-pandemic the job took. So in America, we work more hours than anybody else. We're undefeated. I don't care what anybody says. In the developed world, you can't compare us to, like, a country where they're doing slave labor for Nike, so to speak, okay? Because that's forced labor. But voluntary labor, we work more hours than anybody else. I before the pandemic, I would travel to Europe a lot. I had plenty of friends in our English-speaking neighboring countries of, not England, but they are our distant cousin, and then, north of us in Canada. And, the amount of time they get with their families that we do, even when you make money and you're successful, is more. And people are starting to feel that, I think, in their souls, not to sound all hippie-like, but they're like, you know what? For who, for what? To borrow a line from Ricky Waters of the Eagles. And guess what? Maybe you need to make it more attractive. Maybe your job isn't the most important thing in their life, and you have to balance it out, Mr. Employer. Maybe, just maybe, that's what's going on here. And maybe people are saying, nah, you can keep it. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? And if you want to attract people that want to work and do want to move forward, they are out there. But you need to attract them. Stop trying to get them with the minimum. You're like the fisherman that puts on the tiny piece of the worm. No, put on the big nasty night crawler, and then you'll catch yourself a fish. I just, yeah. And Alex points out we're crazy, and we're proud of being workaholics. So I work 80 hours a week. Time is your most valuable and important commodity that you get inherently as being a human being. Okay? No one can take that from you unless you let them take that from you. And sometimes you're forced in a situation where you have to. So, some of the smarter companies realize, like, you know what? If I let them be rested, they'll be more productive in a smaller amount of time. And these older companies just don't figure it out, or they just don't give a fuck, because that leadership doesn't work those hours. They force those hours upon people, and they think it's necessary for production that they have nothing to do with anymore because they're so far from the product on the ground floor, they haven't a single clue. But yet, if you put them in your position with your family, they are like, oh, they're not going to want to live that life. They can't do it. You know what I mean? Maybe they should taste the water that they want you to drink. So, because I'm hearing a lot of people out there saying, oh, you just need to get back to work. People don't want to work. Maybe they don't. Who gives a shit? You want to work? Great. Work. Shut the fuck up. Stop bitching about people not wanting to work. You know what I mean? Because I love that. I'm a worker. I'll work. I love it. Stay home. I'll take advantage of it, and I'll cash in. No problem. I'm not going to break your balls for not wanting to work, but I'll take it. I'll be like, all right, yeah, give it to me. I'll take it. And the thing is, I've been in jobs like that where they want more of your time than it's worth. And sometimes you're making a good amount of money. Then you step back and reevaluate and you go, well, I am making this amount of money, but how many hours am I giving to get this money? Can I enjoy this money? Do I spend more money because I don't have time to do other things that accumulate maybe bills that come out of nowhere, i.e., I'm less healthy, I get less sleep, I eat like shit, I don't get to exercise, I'm stressed. Does that make you lose money because you're spending on other things to kind of sublet those issues, so to speak? Right? Sublet. Is that a good word for that, Mike? I think that's a good word, right? You know what I meant.
You have the best words.
I have the best words. China. Anyway, that was an ode to Trump. So, I mean, a lot of people are workaholics, and they look at you crazy if you're not. And some people love that. They thrive on that action, and that's okay. I'm not saying people are bad that like to work a lot. But as a country, we go, you know what? Fuck your healthcare, fuck your time, and fuck your couch. You know what I mean? And if you don't like
they should have never gave you. Never mind.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So, all I know is, if that's the case, what do employers want you to do? And they're mad because now they see, wow, the government can hang you some money, and they can loosen things up a little bit. That's right, they can. And they were kind of forced to. But somehow they still didn't help people. So that brings me to another subject. Are people ready for it? I don't think some people are. Me, I'm ready for it because unfortunately and fortunately, I've been back in the office since April 22nd of last year. Okay. I know, Mike. Were you shut down at all during your day job?
I never once even was able to think about shutting down
you wanted to, though,
or going home or anything to that degree. So no, I've been part of the essential workers since day one.
By the way, that's a nice shirt. That reminds me of the dad on Step by Step.
That's because I had to come here directly from work. So at my day job, I don't have the luxury of dressing like I do here at the studio.
Yeah.
But
yeah. You should see Mike's pants. They're so Caucasian.
They are. I look like that asshole boss that you go to work and hate that you're there because you have to look at his stupid face.
Yeah.
Which I kind of am that guy.
Yeah. Mike's like, hi. About those TPS reports.
We're going to need you to come in Saturday. Are you coming in Saturday? No, but you are. Yeah, that's the guy I am. No,
Lumberg was such an ass.
But no, I didn't even get one day off. Even when somebody actually gets COVID at my job, all we do is get a notification to say that you may have been exposed to somebody with COVID. Get back to work.
Yeah, you may have been exposed in the Lumberg voice. So, the thing about that is that people just aren't taking that shit anymore, I think, to be honest. I mean, unions aren't getting through because they've weakened unions. So if you beat people's spirit down, then they're like whatever. But I've been back to work, and I think some people aren't ready for it. You're gonna have to drag your ass out of bed. You're gonna have to get up early in the morning and start commuting again. I give it about 2 to 3 months, depending on your job you're in.
But how great was it when COVID, like the first 4 or 5 months of COVID, when there was no traffic on the road?
It's so funny. You're right about that. But now 3 or 4 months from now, we're gonna start hearing a phrase of how great was it when the pandemic was full force. There was no traffic. It was still splendid.
But there's so many companies out there that are going to continue with the work from home thing. I don't think you're going to see that many people going back to work.
Yeah. Well, soon enough, you're going to be hearing the rooster. Get your ass up. Get your ass up. I used to live in a place in high school. There was a fucking rooster. I wanted to kill him. I didn't know where he was at, but he was that loud. I don't even think he was on my property. True story. But cocks everywhere.
And then you're going to have, I'm only bringing this up because I had this conversation earlier. You're going to have
What were you saying?
Wow. Wow. I want to contribute to your show a little bit, and that's what I get.
Great timing.
That's what I get.
Continue on.
No, but during the pandemic, a lot of these waiters and waitresses and people in the food industry have been getting super tipped because they're out there and they're on the front line serving you your food and your beer. I wonder how that's going to affect them to realize you're not going to get those tips anymore.
It might go down, but there are some places that built in the tips. I went to certain places. I was like, they tacked on the gratuity. It was like a party too, and I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm like, okay.
See, I don't like that. I do not like that one bit. I'm sorry, I'm going to go on a little tangent. I don't like that one bit. Gratuity tipping is not mandatory. Eat my dick.
All right. Well, Mike feels very.
I'm very passionate about that. Very.
He said, "Eat his rooster." So I'm okay with it. However, the odds are though, if you did that to me, I probably would have tipped more than you tacked on for gratuity. So you're giving yourself less because I usually am a pretty good tipper.
Don't tack on something that isn't mandatory.
So I do get that though. If there's a huge party, because I've seen waiters screwed over working in that industry, where they work the party and it'd be a $5,000.
Why is it your fault?
What do you mean?
Why is it your fault?
It's okay for someone to tip $10?
It's okay for somebody to tip nothing.
I would say you're classless and you should go to Friendly's.
Wait, if you go out to eat or you go to a bar, is it mandatory to tip?
I think if you're a good human being, yeah.
Why?
I think.
Okay, so
do you not tip?
I go to a restaurant.
Are you a non-tipper?
Listen, if I go to a restaurant or if I go to a bar, I have enough money on me to pay for the goods and services that they are providing to me, there is nothing that says I have to tip, correct? It is not mandatory. So why should I feel like a piece of shit if I don't tip? Because the company doesn't make it mandatory. If you made it mandatory, then it would be part of the bill.
But that's what gratuity is if it's mandatory.
No. I would go in there first and look at them with my large group of people and say, is tipping mandatory? And if they said no, then when they came out with the bill and it had gratuity added to it, I'd go look at them and say, you told me this was not mandatory.
So are you saying that because you don't like the tip?
I don't. It's not that I don't like the tip. I do not like. I call it a tradition. I do not like the system of tipping. I do not agree with it at all. 100%.
Wait, so you don't tip?
No.
Wait a second. I don't believe that.
I don't tip.
So you're telling me if we go to a restaurant, let's say we're all going.
Right.
Let's use Red Lobster, even though I would never find myself at that establishment. I'm above it.
Right.
But anyway, you're telling me if you have a $100 check, you're not tipping.
Right. It is not mandatory. Why am I tipping? If you want your employees to get paid a proper wage, you should not be putting it on the angst on the shoulders of the patrons that are coming into your shop. Pay your employees a proper wage so that they don't have to worry about if somebody's going to tip them enough that they can pay their bills.
Lord,
why are you
don't
putting
worry,
it on
Matt,
me?
I leave the tip.
Why are you going to worry?
Thank God.
Why are you as a company going to put that on me?
But that's how it works, because then the other argument is, well, if you have to pay these people more, then my fucking Big Mac's going to cost 10 cents more. Then people bitch the other way.
So everybody out there, everybody listening to this show right now, go ahead. Go ahead and tag anybody you know in the food service industry to come listen to this right now.
Someone asked me to fart on you, and I did.
Go ahead, tag them in there. I want to get their opinion on this because the whole thing is everybody.
Brad says, I worked in a restaurant for 16 years. The rule is if you can't tip, then don't go out.
No, but here's the deal. Why can't I go out? I am paying for the services that are
just
provided.
got like 90 hearts when he said that. Just
to
let you know.
Here's the whole thing, though. I think everybody in the United States would pay 10 cents, 15 cents, 20 cents more for their burger, for the item, to know that the person that is making it
is there a way
is getting paid a reasonable wage.
I'm going to do this. Should you tip? Tell me how to word this to make so it's fair.
Okay.
Should you tip if you go out to eat?
Yeah.
And so, guys, I'm going to say, should you tip if you go out to eat? If you think you should tip, give it a thumbs up. If you think you shouldn't tip, give it an angry face.
Should
you tip if you go out to eat?
Thumbs
up for tip, angry face for no tip.
But it's not should you tip. Do you agree with tipping? Do you agree with this?
Do I agree with tip? So you're saying, do I agree with tipping? We're talking about just a tip, right?
Do you agree with the idea of tipping? The idea of tipping.
Yes.
You agree with the we're tipping.
I don't agree with gratuity, mandatory
let's
gratuity.
give everybody let's get the listeners at home a little history lesson. And maybe you too. Godfrey, do you know where tipping came from?
You mean the history of tipping?
The history of tipping, how it became to be. Because if you go to other countries, if you go to England, Ireland, if you go to other countries, there's no such thing as tipping. They pay.
Actually, that's not true. They'll throw you a pound. I throw a pound if I get a beer, and they don't tip as much, but they do tip.
But they pay their the tipping isn't looked at like here because they pay their employees a reasonable wage.
Well, plus, I'll give you an example. A pub, usually in England, there's people that they actually give them housing and an hourly wage.
All right.
Do they get housing here? No. They're like, you live at the bar. Like, there's a barmaid. Like, I'm talking like 2 people live upstairs in the fucking bar. And there's a bar I went to called the Old Pack Horse.
Yeah.
Tip your ladies and the shaky butt and the fart on this guy again. All right. And you want another fart.
So the where tipping came from, tipping used to not be a thing. During Prohibition, when alcohol was outlawed, so before that, tipping wasn't a thing. Tipping was only done by like gangsters and mobsters to try and impress their girls, but everybody was paid a certain wage. What happened was
now you do know that you're talking about the post-depression era as well, right?
So listen, but this is why it happened. So
Not
the reason why I'm sorry that we're going on this little tangent, but the reason why it happened was because the bars, since they weren't able to sell alcohol, couldn't afford to pay their employees. So what they did was they enacted the whole tipping idea so that they didn't have to pay their employees, so that they made more money. So that they didn't lose their employees, they didn't lose any money, and it went on to the customer.
So what you're saying is this is a form of protest by you.
This tipping system was enacted only. It was supposed to only be in place during the time when alcohol was outlawed. Just like taxes were only supposed to be in place during the time when we were at wartime. So tipping was supposed to be only then. But
Something tells me you're a libertarian.
But then alcohol came back into the picture, and the big money-hungry businesses looked and said, well, wait a second, we can make more money if we keep this tipping system in place, only pay our employees $1 or $2 an hour, and put the angst on the patron to come in and pay their wage, which is ridiculous. And it's only in place because we all buy into it. If we stop buying into it, it goes away.
So something tells me you're a libertarian because libertarians love to dabble in this thing called fantasy. And, there's something else you brought up, and I totally forget what it is, but someone did suggest that you should go to Wawa. I think it's a great suggestion.
But the system is in place that says that it is not mandatory. If you have something that is not mandatory and I go out and I pay for your services and goods, there should never be somebody looking down their nose at
Brad's
me
comment
because I do not tip.
Brad says that's a dangerous game you're playing, Mike. Servers and bartenders will remember you next time you come in and give you shit service and just plain ignore your table.
Yeah, and you know what? If they do that, I will complain to their manager. And if they say, well, you didn't tip me well, I will look at their manager or the owner and say, is tipping mandatory? When they look at me and go, no, and I say, well, I came in here and I paid for your services and I did not dine and dash or something like that, I will say, why am I getting shitty service now? And I will ask for that person to be reprimanded.
Well, listen. And you want them reprimanded. Wow.
Yes, because they are discriminating against me for not paying their bills in a system that does not require it.
Do you believe in QAnon?
QAnon!
Q in the house, guys. He's right here. I don't know.
care. I'm very passionate about this.
Mandatory charge this motherfucker, you cheap bastard. You may get the wet rag drink. Yeah, so it's funny. I was at cheerleaders last week after the Lamar Odom, Aaron Carter press conference, which we'll talk about later. And, there's a guy who did the same thing. And the lady was like, she said something to his friend, and his friend was like, yeah, I know. And she's like, that motherfucker's not getting served. I can tell you now that they're not reprimanding her. She's going to take her giant melons and go serve someone else.
Then that's not right. That's the part that's not right. Not me not tipping. That's the part that's not right.
Strip clubs aren't exactly known for their great customer service.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about business in general. You want to go down
so
to
here's
the titty shop.
Here's the thing. I mean, that is like you brought up taxes, right? You mean income tax and income tax.
Sorry, yes. I'm a little fired up.
Income tax was supposed to, and this is something that libertarians bring up. That's why I said, are you a libertarian? They bring up that because that was something that was put on because of World War I believe, to finance it. But guess what? Here we are. And guess what? I don't see you not paying IRS.
Right, but that's something that I legally have to do now. Because I live in this country, that is something that I actually have to do and is put in place.
Have you ever been to England?
If that was something that was of my choice, that was not mandatory, do you think I'd be paying it? Again, if you want to make it mandatory, then make it a certain amount of money and make it a part of the bill and make it mandatory. Do that. Then you're paying your employees.
This guy I know that's commenting was in the service industry for years and a bartender, and he goes, I think he might have been the manager. He said, and then the manager will respectfully blow smoke up your ass and then give the bartender the okay to spike your drink with water.
But I'm serious.
Asked Wesley Snipes for tax advice. Yeah, he did run him a Namibia as soon as he got off the plane. They were like, come here, sir, you're arrested.
100%. Again, you want to make it mandatory, fine, I will pay it. But if you don't make it mandatory, I'm not going to pay it.
So you're going to feel better about it if it's mandatory.
Okay,
then you should be okay with gratuity.
Okay, well,
gratuity, they're making it mandatory.
No, because it's not mandatory. They're only saying you're too big of a...
No.
Again,
if I go into a restaurant and you know that ahead of time, it's mandatory.
Yes.
It's your choice.
If I go into a restaurant, I know before walking through that door, it's mandatory. I'm okay with it because I know how much tip I've got to give. So now I know how much food I want to buy. Okay?
I just like to put out there that the views expressed by Mike don't necessarily entirely represent Toxic Radio or some of its characters on there.
So I go in and I rack up a $60 bill and I tip $2. Is that bad?
Yes.
I tipped money. I gave them extra money.
You might as well kept it then.
But why? I gave them extra. So now it's not only you have to tip, but now you have to tip a certain amount.
The standard's about 18%.
Who made the standard?
Here, I'm going to look it up right now.
Who made the standard? There's so many questions here about a system that is not mandatory. I'm sorry for you people. Here's what I have to say. People should not in any way, shape, or form go get a job in the food industry as a server or in any way, shape, or form as somebody who services food and has to rely on tips. No
I'm
way.
Also going to say that your history
at,
lesson on tipping is wrong. I'm going to tell you.
Go get
the
a job at Amazon.
practice of tipping began in Tudor England by the 17th century.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the United States.
Okay. Oh, now that
I'm talking about the United States. Everybody's different. I'm talking about the United States. Come on.
There are distinct cousins. United States tipping history.
I was talking about Prohibition. That was New Jersey. That was United States. Come on. No. See, now that everybody's talking about a standard. So now, okay, you have to tip. You have to give a little bit of extra money. But now if I give too little, you're going to get on me. Now you're looking down your nose at me for giving too little.
So in 1915, several states... Wow, which was... here we go. You'll like this one. This is from the USA Today, so I don't use QAnon as my source. So the practice of tipping workers has unclear origins, but likely began as a result of the caste system in Europe in the late Middle Ages.
Going to Europe.
But no, follow me here. Relax. They can't all be comic book strips, Mike. Okay. All right. So let's. All right. Back in the United States, fresh out of Civil War, formerly enslaved people were all able to find most work in food service or railroad as porter jobs, then relied on tips. Many employers who wanted to hire the formerly enslaved also wanted to keep them at a low wage. When the practice came to the United States, the newly freed slaves, the black workers, were equivalent of the I don't even know, feudal. It's this feudal system. Anyway, so in 1915, this is where I wanted to go. Several states passed laws prohibiting tipping, which was a growing practice, but unpopular at the same time. All 6 of the bans were overturned or ruled unconstitutional by 1926. So prohibition's, still in place. When these states banned tipping, it was because they were trying to discourage whites from tipping instead of actually paying former slaves. So of 6 states that made tipping illegal, 5 were in the South, where the idea was that only black workers were making tips because you only tip inferiors. There's more that so the history isn't as quite as clear as you make it.
It might not. Okay, so there's obviously been tipping before Prohibition. Obviously, there was tipping around, but from my understanding, when it became a locked-in, socially accepted practice in the United States was during that era. I mean, you can look that up, but that's my understanding.
Well, listen,
I'm ready to be proven wrong. I still don't agree with the tipping system, but
Well, I think you're on an island here, and since people are requesting that, and I fart on you, I'm gonna play a couple. That's a fart for every comment that was against what you said.
You know what? People hate.
And the jury has spoken.
You know what? I'll be the hated person here. I mean, I'm right. You know I'm right. If it's not mandatory, it means you do not have to do it, and you shouldn't hate on somebody that doesn't do something that isn't mandatory.
That's okay. You don't have to tip. That's why they made places like Chipotle for you. You'll be all right. And Wawa. And Sheets. So, speaking of just a tip, now we're going to get into the vaccine. What do we know? Does it matter what we know? So, should you shame someone if they don't want the vaccine? It's a good question. I don't think you should shame someone for not wanting the vaccine. However, there's an addendum to that. And what is the addendum? The addendum is this. If you're someone that says, hey, don't take the vaccine, and then immediately you rip a Newport, you're full of shit. If you're someone that says, hey, don't take the team no tip, yeah, great. If you're someone that, is against the vaccine, I'm okay with that. You might have legitimate reasons. But if you're going to sit there and say, I'm not a virologist, I'm not an expert in this area, but I do deliver food at nighttime, and I'm going to tell you that the vaccine's bullshit. I did like 5 Google searches because, when you do a Google search, it searches for what you're asking it for. Remember that. It doesn't give you a contrarian opinion due to popular belief. So you're not an expert because you Google stuff. Now, what I do know is that if I have to trust, we'll just use Mike's name, for example, Toxic Mike on the corner here. If I have to trust him or a virologist from Penn, just for example, I'm going with the guy at Penn, not Mike, because Mike's full of shit. Again, that has nothing to do with that. But the point of me bringing it up is I often hear people talk down about the vaccine. They're like, oh, Johnson & Johnson, they can't even make baby powder right. Shut the fuck up. Because guess what? Let me just do a little search for you. And I want you to see this. How many fatalities from blood pressure pills? That's right. A lot of you fat bastards out there take blood pressure pills because you want to stuff your fat gullets and not tip with Burger King Whoppers. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike, were you there? And, get cheese on it, get extra bacon, avocado toast, get extra salt on your shitty McDonald's fries, and then sit there and be like, you know what? The vaccine's not healthy for you. Hold on a second. Can I have a biggie size and light on the ice? I want extra Coke, extra soda. Yeah. Shut the fuck up. Those people annoy me. Now, if you don't want to get the vaccine and you're like, oh, I don't want it. I want it to be FDA approved, and maybe I don't want it to be approved for just FDA emergency use. I'm totally okay with that. I get that. No problem. Should people shame people into traveling right now? No, they shouldn't. It's their risk, right? We all have to make choices the way this new world is developing of mitigated risk. But I just find it hilarious. I have seen there's been 6 cases, okay, out of 6.8 million vaccines of the Johnson & Johnson that fuck people up and causing blood clots. You have more blood clots from birth control that hurt women than you did from the 6.8 million in these 6 cases. Now, I do think it's overreaction because if something happens, people are going to be like, oh, you see. You know, that's the problem I have with those people. Now, the other problem I have with the vaccine is I think some politicians and people that are at the CDC don't incentivize people to get the vaccine. And what do I mean by that? You can't say, oh, you could get the vaccine, but you still can't see your grandparents. What's the incentive? Then they're like, oh, it doesn't work. You see? You have to incentivize people to do fucking anything. Except Mike. You can't incentivize him a good service for tipping. But that's another story. But, because he feels required. Now, all I'm saying is, I'm shocked by this tipping with Mike. I would have never guessed that. But all I'm saying is, if you don't want to get it, that's cool. But don't sit there and act like you're an expert because you want people to buy into your own bullshit that you gave yourself. I have had conversations with people that I care about to say, I'm not getting a vaccine. You just ripped 2 Newports. What are you talking about? You want to talk about shit that's killed more people? Let's talk about cigarettes. Okay? Now, if you want to smoke cigs, you could do that. I'm not going to break your balls about that either. But, that's your body. The difference here is that this is contagious. You being a fat ass or smoking cigarettes is not contagious. That's the difference. And take it from a guy that had it. I had COVID, and I've never had flu in my life before that. And I'm well into my 30s. So.
Well into his 30s.
Well into my 30s, but I'm not as old as Mike. So, that being said, Mike's fucking dust. No, I'm just, but that being said, I just know, there's too much judging out here, right, of people from both sides of this thing. So I totally agree there. But I just don't get where people are going to talk bad about the vaccine. Because here's the thing. We all want things to go back to normal as much as possible. A lot of you were assholes before then, and you're still assholes now, including myself. But I'm just saying, as far as our everyday life, things for kids, things for your relatives, seeing your older relatives, seeing your friends, it's changed everything, if we're being honest with ourselves. Now, when you look at the landscape of things and, what's bad, what's not, people just have no perspective. They have no self-awareness, and they love to believe their own BS. Everybody loves to smell their own fucking shit. But what you don't realize is that your shit doesn't smell like potpourri, and neither does the guy next to you or the chick behind you. All your shit stinks. So, on a level playing field, if you're going to be, Jimmy talk shit at the corner store or the bodega, I'm not listening to you. I'm tuning you out because you are full of shit. Now, if you say to me, Matt, I don't want to get it because, it's my body, my choice. I don't want anything that, is going to be in my body that's not approved. I have my reason for this. That's okay. Not a problem. But if you're out here saying, being a wise ass, like, oh, can't even make baby powder, right? Go fuck yourself. Like, that is bullshit. Like, that's a con job, just like the QAnon people. My favorite with QAnon is, they're drinking baby blood. I'm like, okay, cool. They're drinking baby blood. Adrenaline. Is that what it's called? Baby blood. So someone said in the comments, fatty food is contagious for 60% of Americans, but they get tipped when they serve it sometimes. He gets a fart for that. Oh, that's a squeaker. So, but the government and the health officials have to do a better job of incentivizing it. Oh, you gotta wear a double mask, even though where the fuck was this double mask in the beginning of the pandemic? So I can get why people are very skeptical about certain things. Now, science is ever changing. They do make new developments, and you have to be patient and understand that. But, Fauci was even caught lying. And, I know everybody loves Dr. Fauci, but he admitted and gave a shitty explanation. I could find you the video. This was on MSNBC, which that's his home turf. And he says, Well, we didn't want to tell people early on that they needed masks because we didn't want to run out of masks for the people that were on the front lines. And then he said, this is the shitty part, that we didn't have any data that said the masks would be effective outside of the hospital, but they're effective in the hospital. That was a real quote from Dr. Fauci recently. I can find it for you. I'm not joking. Now, that kind of shit discourages me and makes me upset because, you know, that was a decision that was made that wasn't a good decision. But at the end of the day, you should get the vaccine, in my opinion. But should you be forced to get it? No, I don't think so. Something tells me Mike's on the no vaccine tide too. I just have a hunch. They say 95% of people that don't tip don't believe in a vaccine either.
Well, I mean, if it's not mandatory.
Here we go. He's a fucking libertarian. I know it. So, yeah, there's Fauci right there. Fastball Fauci. So, I don't know. But on to a lighter note, I wanted to talk about, you know, celebrity boxing. That was pretty cool. I don't know if you guys knew this. Toxic Radio got to cover the Lamar Odom versus Aaron Carter press conference, and I'm going to give you my review of it, as I always keeps it real here on Taking It Deep with the Godfrey. I feel like Aaron Carter did a really good job. He was entertaining, and so was Lamar Odom. But I found it funny that Lamar Odom was having a hard time not giggling when Aaron Carter pushed him. He looked like he was giggling. Did you notice that in the photos, Mike?
I noticed a few. I did notice a few,
Yeah.
but I mean,
He was like
some people, it might have been a cocky smile.
No,
It might have been a cocky smile.
I think he was laughing his ass off. I really do.
I don't know.
He looked really, really relaxed. So I gotta say though, Aaron Carter's girlfriend, she's pretty hot. I thought she was kind of hot. Yeah, I thought she was hot. Here he is. Oh, there's him getting out.
But yeah, it was pretty cool. It was on the streets of.
There's that asshole right there, Mike. That
Philadelphia.
non-tipping asshole right there in the back of the left.
I can see me back there.
There he is, right
My
there.
hands up in the air.
There's Aaron Carter.
There's Aaron Carter. Yeah, it was a good time.
I hope you don't get fucking flagged by Facebook for playing this shit.
It was a good time. Obviously, Damon, good friend of the station, friend of all the shows, did his first podcast here on Toxic Radio with us. Redemption, which you can still find on all your podcast outlets.
I thought Lamar Odom would be taller than he was.
I did too. I thought he was going to be a lot taller, but he wasn't.
I don't feel like that's 6'10". I thought he was 6'10".
Yeah, he really should have towered a lot more over Damon, who isn't that tall of a guy.
I think
no,
Aaron Carter should hit Lamar Odom right in the nuts.
Aaron Carter looked as cocky as he seems, and his girlfriend seemed very pissed off for some reason.
She might have been constipated.
She might. I mean, that is not that has not been confirmed nor denied, so we can't actually.
Rumor is they stopped on the Taco Bell on the way here.
It was
on the way there,
and they tipped.
She asked, and she asked for extra seasoned beef. So, speaking of beef and wrestling, celebrity boxing, things of those nature, there is a series that I'm addicted to, and even if you're not a wrestling fan, I think you would enjoy this. It would be Dark Side of the Ring. It's on Vice. They got season 3 coming out. And the great thing about this is it's a tell-all about all those wrestling legends you heard about, even if you weren't a wrestling fan. I'm talking about things like murder, drugs, all kinds of crazy shit. And if you're a wrestling fan, you know what I'm talking about. But they're going to give you a behind-the-scenes of, and I'm psyched about this, The Ultimate Warrior. They're going to talk to his wife. They're having one of the episodes will be on Ultimate Warrior. I cannot wait. They're going to talk to David Arquette, Eric Bischoff, Jake the Snake Roberts. So they're going to do, this is the lineup, though. They do a biography. It's a real-life biography. They interview people. It's a documentary of these wrestlers. And it's not a puff piece where they're going to like, oh, they were great. No, they go into all the dirty details. They're doing Brian Pillman, who died early, Nick Cage, or Gage, not sure about that. They're doing one called Collision in Korea, and I don't know about this, and I'm really interested in. This was a pay-per-view they tried to put on with New Japan Wrestling, where it was 2 nights of wrestling in North Korea in mid-'90s. I wonder how that went down. The Ultimate Warrior, Grizzly Smith, and the Dynamite Kid. Some of you old-timers out there are going to know about the Dynamite Kid. These, I'm telling you, like, you don't even have to know wrestling. They did one about Jimmy Fly Snuka, who I always thought killed the girl. That was the Gino Hernandez one was crazy. That I thought killed the girl in Allentown, and he died, so they really didn't get to do that. Or I think they tried to convict him later on. That story was riveting in itself. You don't even need to be a fan of wrestling to like these shows. So I'm telling you, give it a chance. It is like, first 48 hours or 2020 or with characters in it. Like there's this Gorgeous Gino is one where the guy got murdered. There's another one where the guy got stabbed to death in Puerto Rico, and people live to talk about it. There's eyewitness accounts. So I recommend this. It's going to be on Vice TV. I believe it's premiering May 6th. Now, another thing that they're doing that I'm really like is they're going to do a Dark Side of Football. That's right. May 13th, it's going to premiere. So that's pretty awesome. I cannot wait to see that. So that's some good TV coming up if you like some realism. Does Fauci tip? He does, just a tip. It's got to be masked. It's got to be masked, though. Not an anti-masker. Mike is. No, he's not. I'm just joking.
What?
Oh, my God. Mike, he's not. Oh, my God. That was one, too. He is not an anti-masker. But, if Fauci tips, he has to be masked. Does Fauci tip? That's great. Mike's getting all the heat today, baby.
It's because they all realize how logical my thought process is, and they can't argue it. They can't. They can only say, "Oh, you're horrible. Don't go out to eat. Then don't go out to eat. Don't just go to Wawa."
I'm going to put that challenge out there. If someone would like to call in at 856, and you're in the comments. 485.
Well, I don't have the phone line up, so we're not doing this right now.
We're going to put the phone line up.
You know how long it takes to boot up the phone line?
I put that in the description. Oh, Jesus Christ. Toxic Radio, no fucking phones, and you can't turn on the air conditioning. Because
I turn on the phones when before you start the show, you say, Mike, I'm going to use the phones tonight.
If you turn on the air conditioning in our studio, the landlord sends a message.
Okay.
It's like, I'm watching you.
All right.
I'm watching you. He's not listening to this show.
But anyway...
if he is, hi.
Everybody's just hating on me because I speak logically. I speak with a way that you cannot argue it.
This is what QAnon people say when no one challenges their stuff.
But no, if you can't challenge it, if I sit here and say to you, what does not mandatory mean?
All right.
If I tell you you can go into that store, pants aren't mandatory. You're going to yell at the people that don't have pants on?
Actually, if you go to a 7-Eleven, it says, no shirt, no shoes, no service. It doesn't say shit about pants.
But if you actually see a sign up that says pants are not mandatory, you can't yell at the people that went in there without pants.
Next week on Taking It Deep, we will have the phone lines up. And
if
you would like to challenge Mike to a tip-off where it's just a tip, you have 856-485-9565. That will be next week.
Yeah.
And it takes us about a week to get the phones up. So if you give us enough time, it will be fucking going. So that being said, technology is a wonderful thing. But back to the TV. Actually, no. Supreme, our friend of the station here, has a show. He had a new release, and it was called Chasing That Paper, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Chasing That Paper. So check that out. I was listening to it. Supreme, friend of the show, friend of the station. We like Supreme here, so we're a fan. We're a fan. We're a fan. So celebrity boxing, like I said, it was a spectacle. You guys who know who Wide Neck is, right? I got his station ID from Wide Neck, and he's going to tell you to take it deep. Or no, I didn't get him to say take it deep. He's going to say, you're listening to Toxic. Funny story about Wide Neck. He looks smaller, but his neck is still wide. I think he's going to get the shit kicked out of him because he looks pretty slow. Just saying.
I still think that Wide Neck is not a big enough celebrity that you just, to anybody walking down the street, you could say Wide Neck and they would know who you're talking about.
Put a picture up of him.
Okay.
All right, guys. Tell me if you recognize who this guy is. Now, his name is Wide Neck. You might not know his name, but I feel like this meme went viral because it was just, I don't know. He must have been on the juice or something. He looks a lot smaller. Maybe he got sick. So, yeah, you're going to have him fight. You're going to have, there he is. That's him. You guys, I mean, that he's not that big anymore. His neck's that wide, but he's a lot skinnier. So he's going to fight. I think he's going to get his ass kicked, personally. And we got Tim Weatherspoon, terrible Tim Weatherspoon, versus Hazel, the Latin lover. So that's going to be a fun fight.
Are we still doing the Crave Case challenge?
Do you really want to do that? I mean... We'll have to get it imported to do a Crave Case challenge.
We just have to, somebody goes 2 hours up north, gets it.
Wow,
2 hours back.
Wow, people are taking a shot to you. They said you don't need to tip White Castle, so we still can do a Crave Case challenge.
Jesus Christ. You don't need to tip anybody. That's the whole point of the argument. You don't need to tip anyone.
So next week, when you want to present your counter argument to Mike, 856-485-9565. So I'm really interested, and I know I'm going to have some takers for this one because I see a lot of passion in the chat room over this, and yeah, I'm liking that. You guys
hype this one up. Let's get everybody in the food industry to come on here and try to sell me their case.
The lines will blow up.
Let's see if they can sell their case on something that isn't mandatory.
Well,
Laura's in on the Crave Case Challenge.
Of course she is. Of course she is, because it's delicious. But not a whole case of them. So the challenge is Mike has to eat a whole Crave Case, but you can't like, it's got to be like within an hour.
No, the challenge is we all get our own Crave Case, and we see
I don't want to. I already want to admit defeat. I don't want to do that.
We got to see who can eat the most, but we got to have a decent prize. So
No,
that's something we have to think about.
I want the challenge.
The winner
can
gets
you
tipped
actually
a good amount of money.
Then you can actually finish it.
But that's just challenging me.
And you can't do that because people are going to give you fucking pennies now because you said you don't tip.
Next week, the tipping thing, maybe 2 episodes from now, we put the challenge out for the Crave Case Challenge. Who wants to challenge Toxic Mike to a Crave Case Challenge?
Yeah, but no one wants to see us eat on air, so it will have to be something like off air. I know I wouldn't want to see me.
Oh, no,
eat
you're
on
not going to see us. It'll be cameras that pan to. You think I've been doing this just yesterday? I know how to do this, motherfucker.
Okay.
I'm the one who did Wing Mania.
Yeah, Say that again. You did what?
Wing Mania.
Okay, Wing Mania. Where was that at?
I was at Harper's Pub in Pine Hill, New Jersey. Yeah.
Well, that obviously is something people have definitely heard about.
Laura says, "Don't break up with me when I win." Wait. Oh, I love this one from Brad. Spitting in your food isn't mandatory, but the servers will do it. No, spitting on the food isn't mandatory, but spitting on the food will get them the restaurant shut down.
No, it won't.
If I find out that they spit in my food,
they're not going to tell you.
No, if that's the thing. If anybody finds out that they spit in my food.
I meant to play that after you said, say the big PD, the Wing Mania again.
That's as long as it takes me to set up the phone line.
No,
Jesus Christ.
That's not true. We have a gerbil that's our phone line, and he has to jump on a track and run after cheese. Or what do gerbils eat? Ass? I don't know. But, yeah, challenge accepted. Someone accepted the challenge. Crave Case. God. That you can't. There's how many? I think it's 24 burgers in those things.
Let me see.
Mike's like, let me check. I ordered one last week.
How many in a Crave Case? 30. A White Castle Crave Case comes with 30 of the chain's signature sliders. Prices start at around only $20 for 30 original sliders and $25 for 30 cheeseburger sliders.
That's a lot. I don't want to. I'd rather referee. I don't want to eat that shit. 30 fucking. That's disgusting. It's almost as bad as Dollar Dog Night. Like when I see you gluttonous fat bastards at Dollar Dog Night at the Phillies game, you haven't lived until you went to Philadelphia and you see someone carrying around a trash bag full of fucking hot dogs. Real story. Are you gonna drink the soda too?
I mean, you gotta have soda with the. How are you not gonna drink something? You're eating 30 burgers.
I love how there's only 5 things of fries. Why not make it like matching? Ugh. 30. Okay, I'll skip lunch. Man, I've seen people say they can do this before, and they haven't done it. She's never had White Castle. Let me tell you about White Castle. It's this idea that comes up when you're drunk. They're open 24 hours usually.
Or is it high? I thought it was high, wasn't it?
Either or. And Laura loves lots of hot dogs at once. Interesting. Wow. So.
Is that a cockle-doodle-doo?
Yeah, it's a cock. So, yeah, I'll get it with a Diet Coke. So, I mean, yeah, that's a lot of fucking food. I've seen people do it and stall out.
Oh, there's a guy on YouTube who's amazing at this shit. Stoney, I think his name is, on YouTube. He's ridiculous.
He's probably shitting his brains out. No one ever shows you the aftermath that these competitive eaters go. You ever been to Wing Bowl? You had to have, right?
Yes, many times.
How many times were people throwing up on stage?
Really not many.
Did you ever enter Wing Bowl?
I almost did. I talked about it. There was people that had my back to do it and never did it.
Why didn't you do it?
I just didn't. I just didn't. You had to like challenge, do a challenge in WIP to qualify for it. I just never did it.
Yeah.
There was really no reason.
There was guys drinking like 4 gallons of milk and shit. Oh my god. There's I don't know what. So Wing Bowl was awesome because I went one time and it's a glutton fest. I think I went the time before the last time. The one time I went there, Ric Flair was there and he's like, Philadelphia, I know I have some kids out here in this audience that I don't know their mind, classic Ric Flair. And I saw throw up, titties, fat guys riding floats, and wings. All in the morning, too. That's what's crazy about this event. It's like 6 a.m. in the morning when it's going on. People are drinking till
dude,
3 before the night.
I start drinking when I used to do Wing Bowl. I started drinking at 4:30 in the morning. And a true story, 100%. And then you get there and they don't open up the beer inside until about 7.
We're gonna get fucking pinched again because we have White Castle on here. You're like, oh, look at you.
So this is Matt Stoney, who actually did the Harold and Kumar, and that was the picture that we saw was all of his food. It was a little thumbnail, and he eats all of this food, and we'll fast forward so we don't get pinched for it. But he eats that whole entire crave case plus all of those burgers.
Facebook is a moody bitch lately.
All the French fries and all the soda. He does it in 15 minutes.
Yeah. I want to know if he had to go outside and get a stick to break his shit up to go down to the toilet the next day. Because that's a lot of stuff, even for a tiny guy.
Look at that.
Did he smoke weed beforehand? Did he eat an edible?
Yeah, so
that's a lot of food.
I just wanted to bring that up.
Crave case. Yeah. And the best thing about White Castle, you don't have to tip. So.
And Laura says we have 2 bathrooms.
Yeah, we do have 2 bathrooms. Mike tries to make one private. I always take a shit back there on purpose now. Get here early. Sit my ass right in the seat. Anyway. Yeah, guys. Well, that was fun. We got a lot out of that tipping angle there, huh? That was a good fucking half an hour.
Sorry about that.
Mike was just fucking good. I feel like there was repressed anger behind that passion of other things.
Well, there is because I've actually put these
No,
thoughts.
I meant like momentarily going on, but that too.
No, I get passionate because I've put these thoughts online and I get very badly attacked over them. So
you say?
But I don't think that I should because of the reason I just said. Where if you walk into a store and it says pants are optional, it is not mandatory to wear pants, and then somebody goes in and doesn't wear pants, and then you get pissed at them, that doesn't make logical sense.
Because they assume that you would wear pants.
But then don't put the sign that says pants are not mandatory.
Where do you see pants aren't mandatory?
I'm just saying it's a metaphor. Shut up.
I mean, pants are definitely mandatory.
Don't tell me pants aren't mandatory, and then when I don't wear pants, you get pissed at me. That's all I'm saying.
Did you ever see the Jackass skit where he walked into, I think, a 7-Eleven with no pants on, and he's like, it says no shirt, no shoes, no service.
Yeah.
And the guy's looking at him like, you leave now. So, anyway, that's it today, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. We started late this week because of Mike. But that being said, well, it was kind of him. He was vigorously texting someone about tipping. But that being said, next week, we will be starting on time at 6 o'clock. We were going to do it Sunday, but I said hell no to that. And we got it done today. We fit it in. And all is well. You will not get a Saturday edition. Sorry. There might be something coming in the future for that. We shall see. But thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time. Sharing is caring. And like I said, share it, subscribe. It's so important to us for you to subscribe and listen and put comments on. And even if you don't download it, just subscribe to the podcast anyway. Help someone out. You know what I mean? Tell your mom about it. You know, if you need me to give you a little gift card with the podcast address on it and it's free, we could do that. But Mike just gave me the middle finger. But listen, with that being said, thanks for listening, folks. And this is the Godfrey Net saying goodbye. Just saying, take it deep.